So I recently went to my hometown, which is Venda in Limpopo. So I come from the village, which is outside Thohoyandou. So I've noticed Venda houses has been a trend for the past 5 years or so. So I've been seeing people posting these big mansions and with captions like Venda houses, Limpopo, Thohoyandou houses. And I'm like, where the heck are these houses coming from? So now that I came back home, so I decided to, actually before I came back home, I just did some research because I've been seeing captions like Thohoyandou Unit D, Limpopo houses. So I just did some research trying to find out what's happening, where are these houses? And then if one can get a vacant land, because I'm inspired, and then maybe I can build something, because I surely want to build something for myself as well. So I started doing some research, and then I found out that there's been some massive developments that has been happening around Venda, especially Thohoyandou, which is our town, from the area where I come from, because there's also this other part of Louis Richard or Mercado, because even that side is Venda. So it's the town of the other people, especially those people who come from Jelele and wherever, those other sides, it's their town. So I started doing some research, trying to find out how much lands, like vacant lands, cost. And then I realized that, so it varies depending on the sections. So there is your much urban places like your Thohoyandou Unit D, Thohoyandou Unit S, where mostly they build these big, beautiful houses. So the land there is very expensive. So I recently went to view this other vacant land, and then the seller said he's selling that vacant land for 550,000. And then I was like, wow, 550,000 for a vacant land. But then as I then went there and walk around looking at those beautiful houses, and then I'm like, maybe it is worth it. Maybe it is worth it. And then as I was moving around, so there's this also notion or saying that people from Venda, where do they get this money and stuff? So I know for a fact there are some houses in this video. So I saw another house. I saw another white house that passed in this video. I know for a fact that that house is owned by a doctor. This doctor, he practiced there in Thohoyandou. So he's a doctor. He's a local doctor. He practiced there. And yes, he's building that house there. And then I know for a fact as well that there's a certain house here in this video as well, that house is owned by this man who owns this famous team in Limpopo, in Venda. I'm not going to mention his name. So he owns that famous Venda team. He also stays here. He built this other beautiful house. It's here in the video, but I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not going to point where is that house, but it's here. And then I also know for a fact as well that there's another house as well here. It's being built. It's not yet fully done. It's owned by another gentleman who is a lawyer by profession. He also practiced there in Thohoyandou. So surely this man can afford these 500,000 empty stands. These men, because they are businessmen, can surely afford to build these kinds of houses. So this sort of like to me proves that there are lots of businessmen around here who are doing things for themselves. There are lots of people who are in these top ends careers like lawyers, doctors, accountants. I also know for a fact, but I don't know the house. I don't know. So the people that I mentioned, I know those houses. The people that I've mentioned, those three people, the doctor, the lawyer, the soccer owner, I know the houses here. There's also another doctor that I know. He also practices there in Thohoyandou. He also stays here. Like the house is like long time completed. He also stays in this suburb. So surely these people can afford. They surely can afford a vacant land that costs 550,000 or 500,000 or 400,000. They then surely can afford to build these kind of houses because they are professionals in their careers. They are businessmen in their careers as well. So surely they can afford. So I don't understand this notion that people in Limpopo, they get these tender monies, they are thugs, they are engaged in nepotism. In companies, they hire amongst themselves, and then that's why they then can afford to build these kind of houses. No, man. These guys are working hard. These guys are working hard. Let us give credit where it is due. These guys are working hard for their monies. They surely deserve these houses. They surely deserve everything that is coming their way. They are working hard for their monies. So you see this kind of houses here in Limpopo. By the way, so here in Thohoyandou Unit D, so there is the Thohoyandou Unit D, the original one, where mostly it used to be, most of the houses are owned by the Indians. Those Indians whereby they owned most of the businesses around Thohoyandou. So that's where most of those Indians used to stay. But most of them have sold those houses, and most of the vacant lands that is being sold as well in Thohoyandou Unit D, it's being sold by the Indians who they are staying in this other suburb which is called Thohoyandou Block F. So they are staying amongst themselves, and then they are selling those vacant stands in Thohoyandou Unit D to then go and stay amongst themselves. But what I wanted to point out was that, so the old Thohoyandou Unit D, if I might put it that way, mostly the houses were built, these big houses were built by the Indians, by the Indian community who owns these businesses in Thohoyandou. And then there is now the Unit D, the Thohoyandou Unit D extension, whereby mostly now it's the black Venda people who are now buying these lands. They come from wherever village that they come from. Like myself, I come from a certain village, and then now I go and look for a land around in Thohoyandou because I don't wanna. I grew up in the village, but one has to develop themselves, and then I want to move to the town, and then I go and look for those land. I now have money. So when you've got money, you can no longer be staying in the village, man. There needs to be that kind of like change in your life and in your lifestyle as well. So that is what mostly happens. So people become lawyers, people become doctors, people become businessmen, businesswomen, and they decide to leave their villages, and then they want to live a better life in town, so to say. So this is what has been happening around in Thohoyandou. So people must stop having jealousy, man. This kind of talk that where do these guys get